Hello and welcome to Euphoria. In this video, I'll continue my series about developing the concept, design and build for a LEGO creation of my own design, a MOC. I'm designing a new building for my LEGO city. It will be a modern multi-storey office building that will be used as a research institute. I call this the Ensgrave building. In this video, which is part 8 of the series, we'll take a look at the detailed design of the building and its interior. In previous videos, we looked at the inspiration behind this MOC, the development of the concept for the building, consideration of various options, and the development of the structural design. I also did some prototyping work to check the strength of the build and to see how the design looked. If you haven't seen them yet, you might want to look at the previous videos to get an idea of what this building is about. There's a link to the playlist in the card above and links to the videos in the description. This video will be followed by further videos in which I'll be finalising the design and then building this MOC. Look out for those coming up. In this phase of design, I'm going to look in more detail at the design of the building. So in this video, I need to develop some important details, such as how to lay out the interiors, what to use the different levels for, and what to put inside the building, where to put any fixed internal construction features like internal walls and restrooms, and any design changes to the exterior that I may want to add or change. All of those things go into producing the detailed design, and I call this the D phase of the design process. I'll be developing this design in computer-aided design using Bricklink Studio. I already have some of the parts I need for this building, including some that I got from the Avengers Tower battle set 76166, which was part of the original inspiration for the building. So I've already done some prototyping using real bricks to test the strength of some assemblies and to see how things look. That means I might be able to try out some of these detailed design ideas with some real bricks as well. Now, before I start on the detailed design, I'll just remind you about the main features of this building that were developed in my last video on the structural design and the prototype builds that I made. It's going to be a straight modular building. That means it needs to follow the modular building standards and be able to connect to a modular building at each side. The building is going to be quite large. It will be built on a 48 stud wide base plate and will be 5 stories high, which will amount to about 70 bricks and a height of nearly 70 centimetres or about 28 inches. The building is quite modern in style and has a profile which includes sloping and curved panels at the front and curved panels at the back. To create a modern style, I created a structure for this building with large glass areas for the walls and a girder and beam structure to provide support. The building will have an external elevator that runs on tracks up and down the back of the building. I tried out the track system and elevator by building a prototype system. It seems to work okay, so I'm going to continue with that in the detailed design. So now let's make a start on the detailed design for this MOC. I'm going to start the detailed design by considering the internal layout of the building. I like to make interiors for my MOCs, and many of the official LEGO modular buildings have partially or fully completed interiors, but often the interiors aren't visible from the outside of the building. This building will be different. Most of the interior of this building will be visible because of the large areas of glass panels in the walls of the building. So I think it's particularly important to think about the interior layout and details of what will be inside the building. This should make a really interesting building, not just for the external shape and appearance, but also the details of the interior and the activities that will be visible within the building. The building was designed around a girder and beam supporting structure, which could be open plan, or it could provide a flexible internal structure. So I don't need internal walls for structural or strength reasons. But I do want to have some internal divisions within the building for reasons such as privacy, security or noise, and to separate off some areas into functional spaces. I'm not going to separate them completely with internal walls, but there will be specific areas such as laboratories or meeting rooms that need to be partitioned. There are 5 floors in the building, and each one has a left-hand section, a central section where the elevator is, and a right-hand section. So one of the main detailed design decisions is where do I need to separate areas and what will they be used for? This is where I go back to the original concept for the building, and it's a good example of how the concept guides the design process. The original concept was to make a modern office building. That kind of morphed into making a research institute in which I could have lots of interesting activities going on. The building will be constructed in separate floors or stories of the building, and I'd like to designate what each level of the building will be used for. Inside this building, I'm thinking there should be research labs, office spaces, a computer room, meeting rooms, perhaps a media centre, and so on. Inside the Research Institute, I want to use the minifigures and accessories from the Space Research and Development People Pack. This provides a variety of interesting people and activities to populate the building. I also have some items from the original Avengers Tower battle set, such as this round piece of equipment and this bench thing. I spent quite a lot of time considering what areas I wanted and where to put them. It became a bit of a 3D jigsaw puzzle. But instead of explaining all that, I'll just show you the main areas that I want in the building. There are 5 levels in this building, so let's start at the bottom on the ground floor, or the first floor if you're in America. Here, of course, is the main entrance to the building, which is now set in the centre. In the centre section is the entrance to the lift or elevator, giving access to the rest of the building. Inside the main entrance, I'll also have a reception area with a reception desk and a receptionist. The building will need a security room where the security team can monitor the building, and a place where security passes can be issued to visitors and staff, and that will also go on this level. This floor will also have an area for relaxed seating for staff and visitors. I've also decided to add another external door at the rear of the building, and I may include a small outside sitting area. On the next floor will be the Materials Sciences lab. This will be a clean room area where new materials and processes can be investigated and developed. There will be an area in which the staff have to wear special suits to make sure they don't contaminate the materials under investigation. I already have several items and minifigs that I can use for this area. There's the trolley with the special geode piece and the computer for examining minerals. There's a meteorite that can be examined, and this piece of equipment from the Avengers Tower for processing new materials. And I can use a couple of the technicians or people in special suits for this area. To get into the clean room, there'll be a sort of airlock and changing area. At the other end of this floor will be the Robotics lab. There'll be a control room in the central area, and then a separate safe area for developing and testing droids and robots. I already have an experimental robot on a stand and a welder figure from the Space Research and Development Pack. There's a flying drone and a drone operator, although I think he would go well in the clean room area. I also managed to obtain one of these tiles with a picture of a legged drone on it. That gave me the idea for maybe making a drone with legs to go in this area. Now I'll look at the next floor, which I'm calling the second floor. At one end there'll be a media centre. This will be a space where presentations can be given, remote conferences can be held, and new technology can be explained. From the Space Research and Development Pack, I already have a cameraman and an interviewer. This area still needs some final design, and I also need to include a control room, edit suite, or broadcast area into this space. At the other end of this floor will be the Energy Research Lab. This will be a lab exploring new sources of energy. I have this piece of equipment from the Avengers Tower set, but I need to develop more equipment to go into this area. Now I'll move on to the third floor. On the third floor there'll be a Life Sciences and Biology lab. There are a couple of things I already have for this area, including the plant experiment from the Space Research and Development Pack and the female scientist running the experiments. There isn't really room for the spinning G-force training machine, but I could use the couches as experiment stations for medical research. There's the treadmill that could go in this area, and a female medic. For the rest of this floor, I'm going to have office space and computer terminals, and at the end of the building will be the computer centre for the Institute. Now we'll look at the interior of the fourth and top floor of the building. On this floor there'll be a series of meeting rooms and office spaces. These will include the C-suite for the head of the Research Institute, and of course he gets the best office at the top of the building. And there'll be a conference room for those important meetings. coming onto the roof. For this MOC, I just intend to build a flat roof. I can build that out of plates like the other floor plates. There'll be a machinery room on the roof to provide the mechanism for the elevator. For now, that's just going to be a manual winding mechanism. However, there will be some other details on the roof where I intend to put some heating, ventilation and air conditioning units, and probably a satellite dish and some communication equipment. Now the building will need some restrooms, so I decided to put one on each level of the building. This proved to be more difficult than I expected. My initial thought was to put the little rooms at one end of the building against the exterior walls. That would save space and bricks. But I realised that to provide access to the restrooms would mean going through one of the other areas. That ends up using a lot of floor space and makes the internal layout of the building more complicated. So it turns out to be better to put the restrooms near the centre of the building, where there is a lobby or circulation area, and that uses less space and simplifies the layout. I tried out several ways of doing this, and the best place turned out to be at the back on the left-hand side of the lobby. This is best because the layout of most floors isn't quite symmetrical, and putting the restroom on the left-hand side gives me better proportioned areas on the right-hand side. I put the restroom in the same place on each floor, so at the back of the building I've now replaced one panel of glass with a solid panel next to the elevator where the restrooms can go. I don't want to make any more changes to the structural design, but there are some small changes to the exterior of the building. In the recent improvements to the structural design, I wanted to provide some more emphasis to the vertical lines in the building. I did that in a number of ways, including changing the panel structure to have more vertical supports. This provided more vertical lines and reduced the distance between supports and had the side benefit of improving the strength of the structure. At the front of the building, I lightened up the girder structure by putting in these little windows that I call sneaks into the girders. When reviewing these, I adjusted the spacing so that they are more evenly spaced to add a signature design feature to the front of the building. I've added some ducting to the side of the building to connect the air conditioning units on the roof to the computer suite on the third floor. And I've added some more ducting at the back of the building to provide the air supply for the clean room on the first floor from the equipment space, which I've managed to find room for above the restroom on the ground floor. This stage of the design is where I need to decide on the colour scheme. For this particular MOC, I've already got an idea of the colour scheme because I built the Avengers Tower from set 76166. That was part of the inspiration for this MOC and gave me some useful elements. Although that was the starting point, I wasn't too committed to using exactly the same colours. In some parts of the design, I did consider changing the colour scheme or adding colours, for example adding sand green or cool yellow for parts of the exterior. However, with some slight modifications, I've decided to keep a similar colour scheme, which is dark blue for the structural framework and light bluish grey for the window frames and some structural elements. I'll use trans light blue for the windows and various curved panels that I need for this build. I'm also changing the colour of the plates I use as part of the structure. I'm making them light bluish grey where I can, so that they're the same colour as the window frames. That reduces the amount of visible breaks and means that the glass panels appear to be one long vertical run. There are some exceptions at the back where I've found that some plates are not available in that colour, so I've used dark bluish grey instead. During this detailed design, I've also been looking at the construction details and checking that the parts I need are available in the colours I want to use and are affordable in those colours. I want to use as many as I can of the bricks that I already have, and I've now got a good idea of the bricks I need for the complete build, so I can get on with procurement. So now we're pretty close to the detailed design for this MOC. Although it's diverged almost completely from the origins of the design, I'm happy with the design as it has now developed. Most of the interior of this building will be visible, so now that we've worked out the interior layout as well, I think this will make a really interesting building. Not just for its external shape and appearance, but also the details of the interior and the activities that will be visible within the building. In this detailed design phase, we've decided how to lay out the interiors, what to use the different levels for, and what to put inside the building. We've decided where to put fixed internal construction features like internal walls and restrooms, and we've looked at a few detailed design changes to the exterior. There are still quite a few things to do to finalise the design of this MOC. I need to finalise the placement of interior features like furniture, and in this case quite a bit of technical equipment. I want to use most of the minifigs from the Space Research and Development People Pack, but I may need some additional minifigs. And there are some areas where I may need decorative elements like stickers. And lastly, I need to finalise the list of parts that I need so that during the procurement phase I can make sure I've got everything I need for this rather large MOC. So look out for the next videos in this series, in which I will look at the final stage of the design for this MOC and move on to procuring all the elements I need. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos about LEGO modular buildings and my LEGO city.